Imagine opening your mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon and finding a court summons, not for an accident, not for a contract dispute, for a credit card debt of $543, a balance you forgot existed from a card you closed almost 4 years ago. Your first thought is, this has to be a mistake. Nobody sues over $500. That used to be true. It is not true anymore. In 2026, debt buyers are filing lawsuits over balances that would have been written off and forgotten just a few years ago. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this shift happened, who is driving it, and why the era of small balances being too small to sue over is finished. The information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. Watching this video does not create an attorney-client, fiduciary, or advisory relationship of any kind. Stories shared are based on real experience from over 20 years in banking, including roles as a branch manager and district manager. Identifying details have been changed to protect customer privacy. The narrator remains anonymous. Audio and visuals in this video are AI generated. Let me tell you about a customer I worked with. She came into my branch on a Thursday morning, papers in her hand, hands shaking. She had been served the night before. The lawsuit was for $612 on a store credit card she had not used since 2021. She thought it was a scam. She almost threw the papers away. The summons was real. The plaintiff was not the store. It was not even the bank that issued the card. It was a debt buyer she had never heard of. A company that had purchased her old account, along with thousands of others, for pennies on the dollar. And the court summons in her hand was the result of a business model that did not exist at this scale even 5 years ago. Here is what changed. For decades, debt collection lawsuits over small balances did not pencil out. Court filing fees, attorney costs, the time to draft pleadings, none of it was worth the recovery on a $500 account. So banks and debt buyers focused on bigger balances. Small ones got written off, sold cheap, or simply forgotten. That math has flipped. According to research published by the Pew Charitable Trusts in 2025, debt collection lawsuits in state courts have surged back to and surpassed pre-pandemic highs. One company in particular, a debt buyer called LVNV Funding, has increased its lawsuit filings by 350% compared to 2019, 350% across multiple states, and a meaningful share of those new filings are for amounts that would have been ignored 5 years ago. Why now? 2 reasons. First, automation. Filing a lawsuit used to require a paralegal, an attorney's review, and a printed packet hand-walked to the courthouse. Today, high-volume debt collection law firms can file small balance suits at a fraction of the old cost using software that generates the pleadings, e-files them with the court, and tracks deadlines automatically. When the cost of filing drops, the minimum balance worth suing over drops with it. Second, the debt buyer business model. Debt buyers do not pay full price for old accounts. According to a Federal Trade Commission study of the debt buying industry, debt buyers historically paid an average of around 4 cents per dollar of debt face value. So a $600 account might have cost a debt buyer $24. Win a default judgment for the full balance plus court costs, and the math works. And default judgments are the whole game. Research from the Pew Charitable Trusts found that in jurisdictions they studied, between 60 and 70% of debt collection cases ended in default judgment. That means the consumer never showed up. They never filed an answer. The debt buyer won automatically, not because the debt was proven, not because the documentation was complete, but because the person sued did not respond. The debt buyer does not need a perfect case to win a default judgment. They need you not to show up. That is the model. File thousands of lawsuits, win the majority by default, then collect through wage garnishment or bank account levies. The volume model only works because so many cases end in default. Now let me tell you what I actually saw on my side of this. When the bank I worked at took someone to small claims court, and we are talking about debts within the small claims court limit, around $10,000 in our cases, unsecured. My job as the bank representative was not complicated. I showed up, I brought the original loan agreement or credit card contract, I provided proof of the balance, the customer almost never showed up, we won. The judgment went back to our collections team, and from there it became a wage garnishment or a payment arrangement. That was the entire process. It was not a battle. It was a paperwork exercise that almost always ended the same way, and that was a real bank with a real loan officer in the courtroom. The volume play that debt buyers run today is the same process, just multiplied by thousands. Here is the bottom line. The era of small balances being too small to sue over is finished. Automation has dropped the cost of filing a lawsuit to almost nothing, and the debt buyer business model is built on the assumption that most people will never show up to court. 350% more LVNV filings since 2019 is not a blip. It is the new normal. If you have an old credit card account that went to charge off, do not assume it is gone because no one has called in 2 years. Pull your credit report for free. You can do it as often as once a week through the official bureaus or use a free monitoring app and see what is actually on there. That old charge off may already be on the desk of a debt buyer's attorney. Now, knowing why this is happening is one thing. Knowing what to do if a summons actually shows up in your mailbox is another. There is a deadline that matters more than the dollar amount, a single document you have to file, and one request that can collapse a debt buyer's case in court. I cover all 3 of those steps in detail in the next video on this channel. For the full breakdown of exactly what happened to the customer I told you about at the start, and what every borrower should know about being sued for credit card debt, go watch video Sued for a Credit Card Debt. Here's exactly what happens next. The link is in the description and on the card on screen. I will see you in the next video.